Hello, good afternoon. Sorry, I know a lot of you have been waiting. We have been locked in meetings since this nonsense broke. Probably about 2 hours ago now. Joined by John, obviously, in the studio. Ped is on camera as well, I think, in the corner there.
Where do we start?
Where do we start? The Premier League of today decided, or the independent commission have decided, Everton will be docked 10 points, which is utter nonsense. More evidence of the embarrassingly ran Premier League, and more evidence of hiding in plain sight. While two other clubs have benefited hugely on the sporting perspective, and City can just carry on doing whatever they want, and Chelsea have openly admitted they'd bent the rules and won European Cups and stuff in that time, and are still yet to have anything. But Everton had one technical breach, which was nothing to do with sporting advantage. The Commission's report says Everton didn't deliberately try to gain a sporting advantage by this one thing. Therefore, that to me blows the rest of it. The rest of it's just noise, as far as I'm concerned. An independent panel that was picked by the Premier League, regardless of what they'll try to tell you. And they recommended and put it out in the press what they wanted done. So it's absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion. Everton won't get 10 points. It'll be reduced on appeal. Obviously, it would. But there's a lot of other clubs who should be petrified because they're in breach as well, and some of them are under investigation as well. And I'm still waiting to see the Premier League's ruling on Newcastle. They told us the investigation was ongoing. It's funny how that's gone very quiet, hasn't it?
Let's
very quiet.
Should we set the scene here?
Well, go on, John.
Because setting the scene is this is the result of a show trial, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It appears to me. Sorry, guys. If you're sad enough, this thing is 41 pages long, right? And it talks about all the people who didn't contribute to this, or sorry, those people who were referenced in it. And the most important thing in this is here's all the stuff, 40 pages of stuff of Everton saying what they think, the Premier League saying what they think, and then of course the KC and his fellow commission members. I'm not sure we know who they are, but perhaps for full transparency, they could tell us who the members of the commission were, not just who the chair of it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it comes down to the conclusion, which simply says the commission directs that Everton shall be subject to an immediate deduction of 10 points. That's it. No explanation how the 10 points is calculated. Nope. No reference, as typical in law, well, when somebody else broke the rules, they got X points, and this is worse than that. Or somebody else did it, and they got Y points, and this isn't as bad as that. Because this is the first one down the track. And perversely, may very well be the last one down the track. Of course it will. Which is astonishing. So we're going to keep referring to it as the NIAS law, right? Which is you can kick the shit out of Everton and because you can, or you think you can, and guess what? You don't do it to anybody else. And this is scandalous, right? It genuinely is scandalous. It's scandalous because there is no explanation of how the commission concluded that the right answer is 10 points. None whatsoever. Okay, whether that's to give wriggle room to the appeal, where undoubtedly this point deduction will be reduced, right? Everton put forward mitigation. Some of it was accepted by the KC, some of it wasn't. Sadly, people, if you read through this, it's fair to say that the management team that we had in place for the 3 years in question, had it been better, we might not have been in this place.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, there is no doubt about that. But let's set aside, for debate, if you will, how we got to where we are. The punishment is just totally and utterly disproportionate, and it appears to me as an Evertonian, but as an impartial, I try to be a bit impartial, for reading it, and I've spoke to some national journalists today, some who are Evertonians, some who are not, and they're all very consistent, shocked by the size of the punishment. And there's no explanation for the size of the punishment. Therefore, what the hell have they been doing for the last God knows how many months, or weeks rather, because it's a show trial.
It's absolutely.
And it's getting exactly the attention, I guess, that the Premier League wants, because everybody's talking about it. And actually, the focus, one assumes, and I've been in here for the last hour listening to other, we've been on calls and stuff. I don't know how media, and particularly Sky and the like, are dealing with it. But ultimately, I guess all the focus will be on how draconian the punishment is. Well done, Premier League. That's not going to stop you getting a regulator, an independent regulator who would never do this. Never, ever do this. So why are you doing it? Because you want to try and avoid being independent regulated when you've demonstrated time and time again you're incapable of regulating yourselves. So there you go. I've said my piece.
Oh, but listen, let's just have it right. That first of all...
By the way, we're guilty, right? Sorry. Guilty of a breach, a breach. And it's too easy, if you will, as it does say in the document, that a breach is a breach is a breach, right? Which it is, right? Which is why you have mitigation, right? And clearly the mitigation arguments we presented as a football club weren't powerful enough to convince the KC to agree to all of them, right? But the bottom line is, we're talking about, was it 19.5 million over 3 years spent too much? Whilst the war went on, while the COVID thing's happening, and whilst we're building a football stadium.
So hang on, can we just first and foremost hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't? Subscribe if you think the Premier League is corrupt. That's all I'm going to say. And hit the like button. But the thing about this whole thing is, right, let's do it right, because we've had awful journalists like Mathew of the Daily Mail, disgusting articles he's written, which has whipped up opposition fans into believing untruths about what's happened, why we're in this.
People still don't know why we've been punished.
Right?
Well, that's right. Well, no, they won't, and it's not easy to extract it from this document
this is what
either.
I'm saying, right? So let me just spell it out for you, because I've had a couple of mates, I regard as mates, some other fans who go, "No, what about this?" And when I've actually told them,
they're going, "Oh, really?
Like, what? Oh. I thought you spent like hundreds of millions every year." Everton are in the bottom 3 for net spend over the last 5 years. Right, so let's blow apart this bollocks that Everton spend huge amounts of money on players.
Yeah.
It's utter rubbish. Everton had one crazy summer when they spent 174 million bringing people in. They sold a few, but that was the biggest spend Everton had one summer. Right? Everton
a long time ago.
In 2017.
Yeah.
Everton overspent because, like John just said, we breached it. We spent a bit more than we were allowed to, right? In that time, Everton began to build a brand new stadium. Everton, like the world, during this time of starting to build this brand new stadium, the world went into a global pandemic.
Yeah.
Global pandemic, which is...
happens once every 100 years
exactly,
or so. Yeah.
Right? And also, one of Everton's sponsor, or sponsored the training ground, and owners who owned companies, whatever you want to call it, Russia and Ukraine went to war. Russia forced Ukraine into a war. Therefore, meaning that sanctions were put on that sponsor, meaning Everton lost money. Everton had signed a name and rights deal with USM for, would have been 200 million, 10 million a season over 20 years, which would have paid for the remaining bit of the stadium. So these 3 unprecedented events that don't normally bob along happened in this period. Right? There was nothing to do with gaining sporting advantage. So all of these people who come on, these fans of other clubs, you cheated and all that, you're talking utter nonsense. You are talking utter nonsense. There is one breach, and it is directly attributed to interest on the stadium. It means Everton have breached the thing. Therefore, if we're going to say, right, if you breach that, you are guilty of something, fine. Everton are guilty then of that, right? You can argue all day long, points, deduction for that, for breaching, when you're trying to build a stadium which makes fans' experience of going the match much better. We're playing in a stadium that is, what's good as 100 and 30 odd years old, whatever it is. We need a new ground. Away fans need a better place to come and watch their football. It's the best ground in the Premier League, it's going to be, because it's the newest, the way it's built, the location. So therefore enhancing the Premier League's brand, which I know there's a lot of stuff about corruption with the Premier League. We're trying to make that better. All of these things aren't normal season by season, but even taking all of these things into account, we've breached it by 19.5 million relating to a stadium. Now, let me give you this other bit of information as well. Had Everton gone and borrowed the full amount from a bank for the stadium, Everton wouldn't be in this position at all. Everton have breached it by paying for, well, the owner, by trying to make the football club pay for the stadium itself. So we need to just, if you are a fan of another club and you've read people like Mathew, who basically there is more intelligence in a freaking kindergarten class than what that fella's got.
Kinder Egg.
On a Kinder Egg, yeah. Kinder Egg got a better haircut, that's for sure. Then you would know there has been no sporting advantage. Go and look at Everton over the last 2 years. Do Everton look like a club that's had a fucking sporting advantage? No. Everton had to sell Richarlison for a hugely reduced fee because the Premier League were breathing down our neck, which would have, wiped out the breach. If Everton had gone and spent 300 million a season on players, I'd be right there with every one of those other fans. I'd have gone, fair cop, gov, relegate us, or whatever. But it's nonsense. So let's report the facts. Right? I am angry, I'm fuming that Richard Masters, the shitbag at the Premier League, has allowed other stuff to go on with Newcastle sneaking in through the back door to take over. Man City doing whatever they've done. And hopefully City take them the cleaners and destroy them. Chelsea have just owned up and gone, we've done loads of breaches, and there is others. Bournemouth done it in the Championship to get in. Wolves, stuff in the Championship, had to pay a fine. Right? Other clubs do it. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but they have not received this kind of punishment. If we'd have gone in administration, we'd have only got 9 points. This is unprecedented. It's bollocks. It's made up, and it's unfair. And that's the way it is.
Do you want to know how we got... Oh, sorry. If you're watching, guys, do you want to know how they got to 10 points?
Go on.
Because it's amusing.
Go on. Yeah, go on.
Might be amusing to non-Everton fans more than Everton fans,
go on.
right? On the 9th of August this year, the Premier League did not have a method for determining what the punishment would be if you failed a PSR. Because they agreed one on the 10th. Right?
So they agreed one before now when we were off.
So think of this, guys.
Yeah.
Everton have been referred to a commission that doesn't know when it gets called, right, how they're going to apply a tariff for any breach, right? So the Premier League go, oh, bugger, quick, we better come up with one, right? So they did. And they basically concluded that a PSR breach costs you 6 points. That's it, right? 6 straight away. And then an additional point deduction is applied for every £5 million that you breached it by.
That's what they've come up with.
Yeah.
That's what they've come up. That's the tariff.
That's the tariff, right? So you go, well, okay, we breached it as a football club, Everton, by 19.5 million. So 5, 10, 15, 20. There you go. 6 plus 4 is 10. First thing I'd say is 19.5 isn't 20.
No.
Right? It's less than 20 if, for my view, John Blaine's view, being a bit of a numpty, and I've not read all this properly yet, so don't shoot me,
Can't
right?
round it up.
As I'd say it would be 5, 10, 15, yeah? Therefore, that's 3, right? So there's some debate there about, is it parts of parts of millions and all sorts of things. I'm guessing it's as soon as you've made a penny over, yeah? That's a point, and then as soon as you're over 15, that's another point. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's how they get to 10. So I get it, right? But the KC refused Masters' submission to use that mechanism, right? Because I'm guessing it was because it was after the commission was called. But he's come up with the same number. So he hasn't used what the Premier League put in their witness statement through Masters, right, about how to calculate the punishment, but he's miraculously come up with the same result, which is fair enough. It's just he's got his own mechanism for doing it, and he just hasn't shared what that mechanism is.
He's
right?
just basically used it.
That's right.
Masters has probably been on the
So we end up with 6 points plus the breach, 19.5, right, which makes it 10. So why did the Premier League ask for 12 then?
Yeah.
Premier League, why did you ask for 12 when using the calculation or mechanism provided by your own chief executive, you only get to 10?
Because there isn't a real tariff. That's the thing.
Because they're making it up as they go along.
Let me just. I just want to address something
Making it
before
up
we
as they
start.
go along.
Can we just not get away from the fact this is why people protested for ages about the people who run our football club? Let's just address that straight away.
Let's not forget
that the owner of this football club and the old board got us to this position.
Totally
and
agree.
2 of those people on that board decided not to go in front of this commission and defend the football club as well. That also needs to be put out there. They have led us to this point, those people. So let's get that out there straight away. We're not simply sitting here saying, "Oh, the Premier League is great." No. It just feels like that has to come from me.
No. The 2 key roles you would expect, right, to present either witness statements or whatever, would be the chief executive officer and the chief financial officer, because they're the 2 critical roles, aren't they? One person is running the business and the other one's running all the finances. And is it right? Our understanding, neither of them even made a witness statement.
So the fella,
they just didn't engage at all.
The fella who was, it's his job to literally do the accounts, couldn't go and defend our accounts, which is a disgrace because he would know more than anyone about it. But this is just completely unproportionate. And listen, you'll get loads of people coming on here gloating and laughing their heads off at us and all that. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really bother me. That's football fans in general. We talk about that every single day. Yeah. There's such a disconnect in the football world where football fans as a whole don't come together, and that's why that's why football is in the shithole it's in, because football fans do not come together on anything. They sit there in their little tribes and laugh at each other's misfortunes, when if we actually all come together like we see in other countries like Germany, we wouldn't have these issues. We wouldn't have these issues in the first place. We wouldn't have fucking Monday Night Football for a start, which would be a bonus, wouldn't it? Yeah. Because in other countries they get together and they back each other, and that's not just me talking about Everton. That's football and whole. We talk about it all the time when people complain about games being played on Sundays and Mondays and at stupid times, and Newcastle playing Brighton and cup tickets, not getting enough cup tickets and travel after games, and the last train out of London on a half-5 game on a Saturday is at 7:30. All these things, because football fans do not back each other up, and we'll see that again in this. They'll all laugh because everyone's in it for themselves, and that's what we've become as a society. Everyone in it for themselves. But I'm telling you what, if they come after us, they're coming after you. It's a simple fact. Yeah. They're coming after you. They're coming after you, City. They're coming after you, Chelsea. They'll come after you, Newcastle. And they'll come after anyone they feel like
Forest,
threatens them in any particular way. And it's a simple case to keep the government commission off their back. What we've seen already after this was announced is MPs coming out going, what the fuck is this? We need a commissioner even more, because there's no basis for this. No. There's absolutely no basis. Have Everton done something wrong? Well, it's all black and white. You can make that decision for yourselves. But
yes, they have
10. Yeah, and there you go, John. 10 points when administration gets you 9 is just
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Can we
it's
just trying
to destroy the football pyramid.
There's no sanity involved in it because it's not sporting, and it's just. They've been holding our hands for 2 years. We might as well have not sold Richarlison. Yeah. We might as well have just kept them and go, fuck you, we'll do what I want. And if I was
kick the can down the road,
if I was Manchester City, I'd just turn around. If I was Newcastle, if I was Chelsea, I'd go, fuck off. We're doing what we want, because we'll keep you in for years.
No, hang on, John. You're absolutely right, Ped. Can I just say that? Like, the thing about this whole thing, the reason why this stupid bleeding thing was set up was to protect the football club from going out of business, and yet all it does is strengthen the teams who have got all the money, right? Which is all right that you can thingy that, but it's not a real rule. It was done to protect the club from going extinct. Yeah, they won't let owners. They're punishing us because we're going to build a stadium through our own money rather than going and getting a loan and saddling the club. It's utter bollocks. Then deciding to make up these punishments as they go along. You can't go know a commission's coming up and decide to make your punishments up that you then recommend to an independent commission. That is not right. You then can't leak it to no-mark journalists that you expect a 12-point deduction when there's supposed to be an independent bleeding panel.
Absolutely. And let's guys, it's all in here. We're not making stuff up.
Like, just pause because I want to read the super chat and I'm going straight back to you. Yeah. Liam Moore on the super chat, a Leeds fan, says, as a Leeds fan, I've experienced the points deduction and trust me, it will galvanise the fans and players.
Right, it will.
It'll push you forward together to safety. Also, I'm not happy we won a sue. We were awful last season. The thing with Leeds and that suing,
sue the Premier League.
Yeah, you can't sue Everton, and it's out there anyway that it wasn't a sporting advantage, so that's nonsense.
That also shows how much of a joke it is. The Premier League didn't have anything in place for all this. All it's been is, like, we've heard people saying they're going to sue. We've had people like Mathew making stories out of it every day. I don't know what he's going to do now. It's all over. It'd be like the fellas building Bramley Moor. It's like, what do we do now?
I know 5 or 6 months of this yet.
But like, you've got a situation where the Premier League didn't have anything in place for any of this. And that's why the Manchester City thing's still dragging its feet, because they haven't got a clue how to tackle. And that's exactly why people want an independent commission, because they feel like football clubs have been getting away with it for years. And now the Premier League go, oh, no, we are going to do something. Well, why didn't you do something when 6 football teams, or 7, or whatever it was,
6,
decided we're leaving the Premier League, or we're leaving the structure of the Premier League?
They just said, choose your own punishment. Yeah. Richard Masters.
Lads.
Choose your own punishment, boys.
I'll tell you what.
Where's the evidence they actually paid the money?
Yeah.
There isn't. There's no evidence they paid. All nonsense. Nonsense.
In the spirit of balance, right? Also, to the temperature. I wish I'd put a jumper on now, but yeah. But you're right, Baz, because when Masters did his witness statement, clearly the KC wasn't very happy with it, so they had to resubmit it. And the reason they had to resubmit it was, and if you read between the lines, people in the document, it appeared that Masters was telling the KC what the answer was. Right, course, yeah. And then they had to resubmit, saying, no, we're just saying this is the sort of, and then the KC says, well, I'm going to go with the rule that says I decide, which is why to me, it's stunning that he's come up with the same answer. So, Richard, you must be very, very happy. But going back to the, because we need to be open as Everton, well, I'm going to be open as an Everton fan, right? We broke the rules. We're not arguing, I don't think, are we, that we haven't broke the rules. No. We are arguing that the punishment is so out of proportion, it's crazy. And yet, a witness statements were made by the chief exec of the Premier League. A witness statement was made by the chief financial officer of the Premier League, right? Particularly the last guy, Ross Christie. He's able to say what was and was not said between him and Everton's chief financial officer. And the commission didn't get to hear what the chief financial officer of Everton has as a recollection of those conversations. So what's he going to do? Everton have put some submissions in here that says, we told the Premier League about this, yeah? And Ross Christie has said, no, you didn't. And there was no one there to counter his argument. So, I mean, I hope those people sleep well at night that they chose not to turn up. I really do. But, again, it's their fault because they were in the roles of influence at the time, and they should have actually followed through and been there now.
They're probably crying because his name was on a bedsheet.
Yeah, but whatever. But we are where we are, and the real key, and I think you nailed it right at the very beginning, Baz, a couple of things. One is this person thinks this is bang out of order. They're making it up as they go along. This person also thinks that undoubtedly the number will be reduced, on appeal. But I'm concerned, how will it be reduced? Because back in August, the Premier League, which means us as well, I don't know whether we voted for it, have said this is how you calculate the tariff.
Hang on, John. You can't change the rules before you've heard the commission.
I know.
You can do it after it.
That's what I mean.
They could go, right,
absolutely,
it's a bit too late for this case.
Yeah.
Everton will get,
that's what I mean,
say it's 6 points, they'll get 6 points for a breach of PSR, and that's the way it is, right? And that's done. From now, every case after Everton,
this is how it's done.
You get this. You can't go, we know that they're up in with having them, and what we'll do is we'll throw this mechanism on top of this so they're armed. You can't do that. Changing the bleeding rules before you go.
Here's the thing, though, right? Because this thing is put in place in August. 6 points just for breaching by a penny.
Yeah.
Right? Plus, a point per 5 million. But the maximum's 12, isn't it? Or is it? I don't know. We've not seen this rule. No, does it just keep going on?
Well, Everton haven't breached it 4 times over it, have they?
Oh.
They haven't, have they?
Yeah, we won 24.5 million in the period.
No, but the breach will be 19.5 million. Yeah. Right? So therefore, they're not at 20. So that doesn't even...
Well, I think, again, the interpretation way for it is 0 to 5 is 1.
Yeah, no.
5 to...
They're making it up as they go along. You know what I mean? No, it's bollocks.
Well, that's an accounting practice, isn't it?
Ota on the Super Chat.
We'd have to see the rules, so...
Says, screw the Super League, screw the Premier League, up the trophies, and we're not going anywhere. Nice haircut, Ped. Great way to finish that is Super Chat there.
But it's just... you just can't. I mean, as I said before, you'll get people on the outside. You've cheated and you've done this and you've done that. But 9 points for administration and 10 for spending
too much.
19.5 million more than what you're allowed to.
It's
over building the ground over 3 years. Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it?
The most important thing now is that
just say for every 5 million, and clearly 4.5 isn't 5 million.
Well, it's the most important.
So it should be 9 anyway.
The most important thing now is that the fan base, it galvanises them.
Oh,
and Everton for that every Everton fan for that next game against Manchester United, which is going to be on live on TV, and a lot of people are going to have eyes. We know what we need to do. Banners all around the ground. There's already a GoFundMe out there. Make sure you get on that.
Get on that
our
if you
social
can afford to
get
donate,
on that.
Donate.
When that Premier League anthem comes up, boo the fuck out of it.
Absolutely.
Boo the fuck out of that anthem. Every single person in the crowd. I don't care what's happened before. We all galvanise now. We tell them exactly how we feel about them.
This is our club, and we don't fight for it. Then we may as well bin it, because the Premier League's already WWE. VAR, disgrace. Howard Webb, disgrace with the PGMOL. Directing things and coming out with nonsense, bleeding justifications for things that if you've got eyes, you can see. And yet they justify why they do it, calling it Bertie, how are you, lad? Fucking nicknames, wankers, the lot of them.
Listen.
But, hang on, I'm not finished. Not having it. Not having it no more. This is the end of it now. And it's up to us as a football club and a fan base to go, nah, you know the way you've pushed us, you keep doing us wrong. You know, Man City, Chelsea and a lot of others. But yet we've had our asses kicked. So City basically are in the Vanarama, aren't they? And Chelsea for, 15 years, one of the reports said, or 13, 14 years of direct and payments elsewhere. This is from Chelsea themselves saying it, by the way. It's just been reported. That puts Chelsea in the Northwest Counties, I think, something like that. So it'll be interesting to see those two playing in non-league. And then you'll have all the others who are looking at Villas and your Forests and your Wolves, Leicester, who are all in the, you can hear the noise in the background. They'll all be in other leagues because these are making stuff up as they go along.
But do you want me to just read out something?
Hang on. It's up to us. As a fan base, we play Manchester United at home a week on Sunday. The biggest club in the world, or one of the top 2 clubs in the world. Popularity, Premier League, Sky, cameras, everywhere where you can see all the lower bits of the ground. Your opportunity now with banners, with corruption, with whatever you want, booing, hostile, make it horrific, bombard the Premier League's Twitter account with everything. Everything you can do. Let's make them sorry that they started opening this bleeding box of theirs, because now we are all looking. We are watching you, Richard Masters, watching you punish the other clubs that have done it. Real football are looking now. It needs to be done. These all need to be in the dock next week. Not, can I quickly escape out the back door with another big payment like lots of them have done? We are waiting now. We are watching. Gobshite.
But can I just go in before you, Ped? How many people are watching?
Nearly 4,000.
Okay, guys.
Subscribe now.
Yeah. There's 4,000 of you. You'll all have Man United fans, right?
Of course you
as
do.
Mates. I've got one who lives next door to me. I'll be speaking to him next time I see him. Got a Man City fan on the other side, right? Man United fans, join us, right, on that day to tell the watching people throughout the world, right, what you and we think of the running and the leadership in this Premier League. right? Because you will be victim of it one day. Who could have ever thought you could breach FFP? But hey-ho, you could get close. But the reality is, mate, and people, let's all get it together. Let's not just have Everton fans being, upset because we've been sanctioned. Because guess what? We ain't getting relegated. It's not about relegation. No. It's about the incompetence way that they're running this football of ours, because it is our football at the end of the day. They're all getting paid huge sums of money, and that seems to be the only thing that matters. It really, really does. And again, just to talk about the way this report has come out, it says in black and white, if any time in those 3 years you breach PSR, you have got a sporting advantage for the whole of the period. How the bleep expletive does that work if you only breach it in the 3rd year? How can you retrospectively add financial and therefore, sporting advantage for the previous 2 years? It's pathetic. It really is.
Well, listen, I'm just seeing this little bit here, and again, this just shows the things with Everton signed a player X in 2017.
Yeah, because he's in the document. Yeah.
Player X had provided to be a star player for the club in July 2021. Player X was arrested. The FA suspended Player X from all football activity, making it impossible for him to perform his contractual duties. In August 23rd, 2021, Everton dismissed Player X. Everton sought advice on the possibility of suing Player X for breach of contract, but elected not to do so. Third player termination loss. Everton had dismissed Player X, leaving available to it a claim against the player for losses for 10 million. However, it decided not to pursue the claim on grounds associated with the player's welfare.
The last sentence is good.
It sought to exclude the sum of 10 million from the PSR calculation. The Premier League objects to the proposed exclusion, both on grounds of principle and uncertainty. So it's stuff like that.
It's a subjective VAR decision, and it's all coming down on the Premier League side. That's what it means.
It's just nonsense. The thing about it is, the whole hilarious thing is, people who still can't understand plain English that there was no sporting advantage. The breach is not to do with Everton signing 3 players for 40 million and he shouldn't have done. It's to do with the stadium and what you can put down with the stadium. It's dead basic. It's really not difficult to understand. I don't know how 4 bricks at Bramley Moor means Everton have got a world-class striker. It just doesn't equate, does it? But when you're told you have to sell a player cheaper than what he should be going for by this date, or you have to rate. Okay, they mightn't have said, John, you've got to sell Richarlison today. John, you've got to raise 60 million by 11:59, or we're going to hammer you for it. What would that have done? It'd have pushed Everton into administration, and guess what? Oh, we'd have got 9 points, which is less than what we've got. They were looking over our shoulder for this period, saying, Everton couldn't sign players who wanted to come, who would have meant Everton performed better, which meant Everton would have finished higher up the league, which meant Everton would have made more money, which would have meant our finances look better. We had to let players go because we simply couldn't keep them. We're still doing it now.
Well, even with
we've been in the bottom. Yeah, we've been in relegation fights for 2 seasons because of the Premier League.
Yeah, all that's cool, right?
It's all right. So,
that's what I mean. Cool. Equals right.
Yeah.
But again, because Ped called it out, we need to... no one will have any dispute about this, I don't think, because I think it was pretty well known for quite a long time. From the owner downwards, we didn't have good enough people running our football club, right? And no disrespect to the incumbents, they know that they're going to be replaced by hopefully people a lot better as and when a change of ownership happens. But it's writ large in this document that it's Everton's responsibility to comply with the rules. Whether your engagement, having cosy chats, with your counterpart in the Premier League, can we do this, can we do that, what do we need to do, and so on, right? That's fine, but ultimately, and don't forget, and we talked about this on the channel, this is a KC. He's a shit-hot legal person, and he's not doing any of the emotion, right? He's not doing any of the, what I say on channel, the difference between doing things right and doing the right thing. Doing things right is Everton banged to rights, hence the failure, hence the breach. I don't think anyone who reads this is going to be in any doubt that Everton have breached the rules. But then the mitigation getting thrown to one side, is very much in the space of doing the right thing. And then you're into, frankly, making things up as you go along, because it's shocking. The stadium thing is amazing, right? And just read it, guys, because Baz keeps coming back to it for good reason. We are partially, if not totally, being punished because we're trying to regenerate North Liverpool, because we're trying to give lots of jobs to people, because we're providing a stadium for the Euros that are going to take place in this country. We're providing something that will look magnificent the next time the Premier League starts to sell its worldwide football rights. Look at this. We are the peak, the Premier League, of everything, including stadiums, players, and everything except the people who sit in some ivory tower somewhere running the place. Masters, did you really not think it would have been a good idea to have come up with your rules for how you apply a tariff before you referred Everton to a commission?
That was it.
You knew when you were going to do it. You had time. There was no pressure on you. Right? But no, you suddenly realised after you shot your bloody bolt, oops, if they are guilty, we don't know how to punish them. So you made something up. And then the KC says, no, I'm going to do the other rule, which says I decide. And then he comes up with the exact calculation that you wanted. Come on, anyone out there who's not an Everton fan, who can't see the holes in this, please message us and say, get over it, lads. You've been banged to rights and you deserve it. Because we're not hearing anyone say that.
If anyone...
There's no Liverpool fans even coming after us. There's nobody telling us it's bang out of order.
The thing about it is...
It's amazing.
It's to do with the stadium.
Yeah.
Forget about the rest. It's to do with the stadium.
The rest of it's noise. It's just technical argument.
If they said Everton done this to gain sporting advantage, we'd have to go, okay, we spent the money. And we did. Don't misinterpret what we're saying, by the way. We're saying Everton fucked up, for want of a better word, right?
Yeah.
However, they did by 19.5 million, which, by the way, gets you frigging a bang average player these days, doesn't it?
Well, that's the 20 million that we failed to get from
the 20 million we didn't get from the Richarlison, because the Premier League put us in the shit and said, get that money by there, boys, or you're getting done. So we got rid of the player who didn't really want to go.
I would love to come back.
Right? We lost out £20 million on that, because that was what the first knock-ons were 80 million for the Richarlison. Don't forget, there was a link with Barca for 100 million, which was ridiculous, by the way. But there you go. Right? And that is where we're up to. And yet, we just somehow, for that same amount of being done. But that wasn't even relating to a player. It's relating to the stadium. I don't get... Just explain to me how building a stadium for everybody, making it better, regeneration, over 1,000 jobs, 1,500 jobs, I think, regenerating a area of North Liverpool that needs regenerating.
Yeah.
Right? Creating jobs at a time when we were in a global pandemic and people were losing jobs. Don't lose sight of what this is. If Everton were winning trophies and stuff, I'd go, yeah, fair enough. You know, we've won trophies and we'll take our punishment because there's the rules. But you can't make rules up knowing that someone's going into a thing and just refusing to accept those mitigating circumstances of a stadium being built, of a global pandemic, of a war which strips you of a huge amount of money out of your books. If you can't see those three things aren't normal to do with a Premier League football team that's going along, then A, you are I'm talking about football fans who don't support Everton, then you are, like Ped said before, you're only looking through your own lens and you want to laugh at other fans. Fine. If that's the box you live in, fine. Right? Because, you know, it means you might win a trophy then if Everton... Oh, no, Everton won any trophies have they in that period? Yeah. They've been hanging on for dear life because of the Premier League. Yeah. And the other side, if you are independent or you're supposedly an intelligent KC, if you can't see that these things are totally unique to a period of time, but it doesn't... And it even puts it in the bleeding report. They didn't do it to intentionally gain sporting advantage. So you know when Mathew...
It wasn't a deliberate overspend.
You know when Mathew is writing this nonsense drivel that he just changes 3 words and gives it a new title?
Again,
about, these football clubs are going to sue Everton The line in the official report blows their argument out the water, does it not?
Yes.
No sporting advantage.
Because it's a technical failure.
So even writing that is utter nonsense. So listen, do whatever you do, but this is bollocks. And if you're a football fan and you look at it and go,
there for the grace of God.
Right, we want Everton. But why? Why do you want Everton? Just because they're a big club and you want to see the fans?
No. They're all desperate to see us go down.
It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. And if you disagree with it, subscribe to this and subscribe to More Than a Game channel.
Come tell us, yeah. No, you're spot on, Baz. And anyone who reads the document, you know what? At some stage, I'm going to get the time to read this from beginning to end rather than bits and bobs. But Everton obviously put forward some mitigation, right? Because they know there's technical failure. As you say, they haven't performed as well as they could have done. And then you start raising your technical, your mitigation about why you shouldn't get as big the maximum, basically. Because at the end of the day, the way this, and it's actually called a trial in the papers, by the way. It's called a trial. In the pre-trial discussions, it says, and so on. So it's been done like a trial. Here's the claim, you breached the rules. Here's the Premier League telling you, why you breached the rules. And here's the judge saying, yes, you're guilty. Now mitigate. Right? Now tell me why I shouldn't give you the punishment that they asked for.
Yeah.
Right? That's the process. We talked about a player, right? And a player where we clearly could have, in very difficult circumstances, sued his ass, right? And we didn't. Yeah. And that obviously cost us a missed opportunity. The judge says, well, that's just normal what happens in business. You know, these things happen. Players sometimes are not available. So I'm not accounting that. We also talk about Ukraine and particularly the impact it has on steel costs and all sorts of things. Sponsorship, obviously through Usmanov, USM Holdings and so on. Again, he says, no, I'm not going to include that because just like what I just told you about players, that's tough. That just happens, right? COVID, can't really allow that mitigation that you've come because the things you've said can't be proven, because we all know that the transfer market fell apart during COVID, right? Clearly they allowed some mitigation in this for everybody because we treated 2 seasons as one, if you like, as a reporting period, but that mitigation was thrown out as well. Now, guys, particularly if you're not Everton fans, because we are, and you might just think we're in denial, right? Just think we've had a technical failure that isn't very big with those mitigations thrown out, right? You take one of those mitigations into account and the points deduction applied for the, how big you fail would halve. In fact, it wouldn't. It would become a third. So straight away, it wouldn't be 10 points. It would be 7 straight away. And why it starts at 6, they only invented that in August, right? So that shouldn't apply at all, yeah? And so all of a sudden you say, well, hang on a minute, is it like 1 point is what really should be fair? And this is all opinion. That's all it is. It's opinion. So another KC will look at all this and he no doubt will take into account what people are saying, right? And how the reaction is to it. And apart from dodgy journalists who just have got a personal vendetta or whatever. I don't know why Matt has it, but hey-ho, maybe we forgot to put sugar in his coffee one day or something. Apart from them, people who understand this game are shocked. Genuinely shocked. I think Lineker's out there, Carragher's out there. There's a blue and a red.
People in football are shocked.
There's a blue and a red, both on the same page, both have huge platforms, and presumably the next time they're on their huge platforms, they will say this. So go back to what Baz said before. Masters were watching you, mate. Really? Guess
Everyone's
what? You are not in this job for much longer. No. It's clear as day, mate. You are not in this job
borrowed
for
time,
much longer.
Lad. You are on borrowed time. In fact, you're all
You couldn't even get your submission to your own goddamn commission right. It had to be thrown back in your face and you had to change it.
There's a lot of them, man.
Get a grip.
They should be running scared because there'll be a lot of that Premier League. If it was me and I worked there, I'd be jumping now.
And if this tariff, I'd love to, maybe it's our fault and maybe it's out there somewhere and we make a note, guys, and we'll read up on it. But if that breach thing, the millions of pounds thing, just keeps going on, Yeah? In other words, every 5 million you get another point deducted. Every 5 million you get another point deducted. There will be smart accountants out there now that say, you know what, we'll take a 3-point deduction. However, we'll have earned this money over here because we didn't sell a Richarlison. You know,
but the point
we got so many more places up the league.
The points deduction is nonsense as well because it's not proportionate. It's like saying if I go through a set of, if I park on a curbside on double yellow lines and I get a £30 fixed notice, and then a millionaire comes up and drives this bleeding big Lamborghini on it or Bentley, and it's cheaper for him than parking bloody in a car park, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't. If Man City, get a points deduction like we have, it doesn't
impact them.
It doesn't really impact them.
Yeah.
It impacts. But if you're a team who are mid-table below, it impacts you well more.
And of course, the provocative nature of this is, and this is why you get Matt doing his bollocks, right, is, and I heard it on 5 Live, Adrian Childs was saying it, Everton, he wasn't saying these words, but the sentiment was, Everton should be quite pleased because, they're playing well now and they probably won't get relegated.
Yeah.
Had this been applied last March, they'd have been relegated.
But that's the point,
isn't hindsight a wonderful thing?
Most of it, I don't believe... I believe this is the Premier League have been pressurised because we have come so close to relegation in the last 2 seasons to feel like they've had to do something and had to have gone for the maximum of 12 points because
even though their own calculation.
Whereas I think if we'd been someone like a Crystal Palace or someone in mid-table, they wouldn't have gone after them the same way and probably would have gone just want to find, because actually if we'd give you 12 points deduction last year, it wouldn't have cost you, really. You know what I mean? It's the idea of saying to those teams who have been relegated, oh, see, we've done it now. Where it's like, and that's where, or it might appease those closed clubs not to sue the Premier League, even though it makes no difference because they've already been relegated.
2 of the clubs said ages ago they weren't going to pursue it because they'd been assured by the Premier League that Everton hadn't done anything wrong.
That's who you sue, the Premier League.
I just feel like if it was someone mid-table and it didn't really matter, they would have just hit them with a fine. But because Everton have been so close to relegation, again, why have Everton been so close? Because we've sold players. We've sold players to satisfy the Premier League. Yeah. That's why we've become. We didn't suddenly become a bad team. We've become a bad team because we sold all of our best players. People forget that
we couldn't keep players around the squad who were helping us because the Premier League wanted this thing. And
the elephant in the room here is, right, if it wasn't for the spectre, as they see it, of an independent regulator, this wouldn't have even gone to an independent commission.
Of course it wouldn't. This is literally...
I'd love to be a fly on the wall now in the Premier League headquarters because you guys have opened Pandora's box.
That's it. Man.
And you're buggered.
And you can't close it.
You can't close it. You really cannot close it.
It's done now. Absolutely.
Your own goddamn rules.
DDJ 5K. In my opinion, you can't have stadium rebuild as mitigating circumstances to justify overspending. You build something to increase your revenue. But are you missing the point of
the rules say that it doesn't count.
But are you missing the point? Why profit and sustainability is set up for is to keep your football club going and to stop clubs like Man City spending 500 million a season on players and just running away with it.
But it's that easy, isn't it?
Right? But hang on. So therefore, building a separate entity because your other ground needs building should never be included in your profit and sustainability if you're funding that yourself. That isn't cheating. It doesn't matter about, you might make extra revenue in the future, so what? And it does take years to build. That to me, mate, I agree. If you'd have said, listen, you've gone over it, so therefore, if you've breached it, you should be punished. Fair play. I wouldn't argue that much with you there. It's the severity of the punishment, fair play. But the stadium thing, I will never accept, mate. Well, no, because it's an external finance that we are doing for the benefits of everybody and creating jobs. So sorry, that's in the bin.
Even at the base level, though, what you're doing to build a stadium is to make your club more financially sustainable, which is what the rules are. That's the basis of the rules. It's the rules is we don't want clubs paying stupid money and going bust because of this silly owner who owns them. Fine, we get that, and we understand that as Evertonians. But if you're building a stadium to say, well, this stadium is going to help generate more money for this football club to keep it in the FFP rules and all the rest of the PR, then it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. It's punishing you for doing the thing to keep you in the rules.
They're telling you that, you want to be competitive, and we're giving other bigger clubs with they're on telly more, so they earn more money than you. They're near the top, so they earn more money than you. They're in Europe, so the sponsorship deals are bigger. They get favourable decisions. So how do you get near that? You get near it by trying to increase all your revenues. You can't just say, oh, well, if you're building the stadium, then basically you can't buy a player for 10 years because that cost comes in it. That's just nonsense. So, Liam on the super chat is a Newcastle fan.
Hi, Liam.
Chelsea broke 159 rules, got 2 window bans, and still signed Kovacic. You'll be fine, even with -10, the bottom 3 are dross, and you're improving.
We're not arguing about whether we don't expect to get relegated.
No, Everton will. There's no chance Everton will get relegated.
Anyone out there who's sad enough to want to read this document, read paragraph 68. Because, again, technically, a technical argument between the Premier League and Everton, right, is around how youth development is dealt with and the transfer levy, right? And the Premier League disagrees with Everton's interpretation, because Everton say, well, this levy and so on are expenditure by the football club, which are directly related to youth development and therefore shouldn't be included. Because most of us know that those costs don't get included, right?
Yeah,
Stadiums, the guy who said, stadiums about giving you more money, so... no, infrastructure and investment like that doesn't count. Youth development doesn't count. The women's team doesn't count. The Premier League disagrees in clause 68. And guess why they don't agree?
Go on.
It points out to the fact that historically, neither Everton nor any other club has sought to make a deduction from the PSR calculation in this way. Oh, so because no one's done it before, right? Maybe no one's been so close to the line and needed to count those pennies, right? But you can't say... it's not allowed because no one's done it before, for crying out loud.
The whole thing's made up, John.
It's
made up as they go along. And what they've done is, we all know, they've simply done it because there is the spectre of an independent regulator hanging over them that's going to come in and stop their cosy little thing where they get all the kicks from it and they get to decide what happens and all of that. And that's why. That is why. So they've done it and gone, right, we'll show you that we're competent and we can look after our own. And we're in charge, we will do whatever it takes to stop this independent regulator by proving we can police it. And so therefore, who's the easiest one now? Oh, Man City, can't go after them. They'll destroy us and obliterate us. Chelsea, well, we'll see what happens with Chelsea, but they'll tie us up in knots for now. I know, Everton. Oh, yeah, Everton are easy targets, aren't they? We've got big Mathews on the case. Let's go after Everton with their one breach and show people that we can punish them. I just wonder whether Everton fans can do a class action and sue the Premier League. I bet you can. I bet you it's legal. You can go for unfair discrimination. I bet your fans can. Punishing Everton, punishing fans. I bet you there's a class action you can do.
You can hurt some fans, obviously.
Well, they're hurting all of us, John.
No, the treacherous six, they don't hurt.
No, but I could, and Everton fans should really do a class action to the Premier League for damaging our mental health for the last 2 seasons by ensuring our club had to sell players and then still adding further damage, causing PTSD, whatever you want to call it. I bet you could, and you could tie them in knots because they're an absolute disgrace.
As you read this, guys, you will see there's lots of it is very technical in this. Not that you can't understand it, but it could go either way, right? That thing I just said about youth development is all about how the money arrives in a place called youth development, right? That was £7.6 million over 3 years. So I think we've just said there's 10 you could knock off, there's 7.6 you could knock off, that's 17.6, and the total number's only 19.5. Come on. Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Go and subscribe to that link I've put as well, by the way. Just do it, because I'm asking you to and I'm fuming. So there you go. No, it's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace.
Very interesting.
It's gonna be interesting. It's going to be very interesting because I honestly, that they look at it, they must look at it and go, because I think they'd look and go, oh my God. Mainstream media, the same sustainability rules give clubs like Everton advantage over the likes of Sheffield United and Burnley. Well, not really, does it? Because you lose the same amount of money in that. Now, are you saying Everton have got an advantage over Burnley and Sheffield United because they've been in the Premier League longer now than what Burnley and Sheffield United have? Well, Burnley had an advantage over every other club then who come up, didn't he? Because they were in the Premier League longer. So no, soz mate, that
Premier League
doesn't
clubs'
work.
advantage over other clubs is when they drop into the Championship, and which is why you consistently see clubs getting relegated from the Premier League, running away with the Championship, and then getting relegated again when they come into the Premier League because the gap's so big.
Burnley have got an advantage over everyone in the Championship.
Totally.
An advantage over everybody in the Championship.
And they will have when they get relegated this season.
And so will Sheffield United. So it doesn't really work like that. You're missing the point again for me. Is that this is not about sporting advantage. It's building a stadium. It's having your sponsors a big chunk of money going because there's a war. There's also a global pandemic. Dead-Eye Donny on a huge super chat. Thank you very much, Donny. Big Premier member as well. Simply says corrupt. And I think it's difficult. It's difficult to argue with it, isn't it? That's how it looks. Well said, Kevin. Sue the Premier League for $5,000 Canadian dollars. Absolutely. Aaron on the super chat says, "Are Man City ever going to get their punishment?" You know what? I don't know. I don't know, mate, because I don't know whether City will just simply tie them up in knots and it'll just be forgotten about. Don't forget, this independent regulator's coming in. The independent regulator, through the government, has already said there will never be a points deduction for this kind of stuff because it's about working with the club how to get you into this thing. We're working with you to get you in a more stable position. Isn't about taking points off you, which might actually put you in financial trouble, which is what the Premier League have tried to do to Everton. Don't forget, the Premier League has been, working with Everton and has made us reduce our squad, sell players, not be able to buy players. All that's done is put us in a position where we might have got relegated, therefore losing a huge amount of money. AJ on the super chat said, in Lasso style, the players should tape the Prem logo. Yeah, go full Ted Lasso. Sky Sports stating Leicester and others are considered suing us for 300 million.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
It's nonsense. That's nonsense. Leicester are actually under investigation for breaching FFP themselves. So, yeah, listen, it's absolute nonsense, this. Yeah. Josh on the super chat, Josh5679 said, what's it for? Which the 10 points is for a technical breach. One breach, which is to do with the stadium, interest payments or whatever it is around the stadium that they said couldn't go in. So it's nothing to do. They even in the commissioner even admits there's no deliberate thing by Everton to gain any sporting advantage at all. So therefore punishing them on the sporting side is absolutely bonkers, isn't it? They should have just fined us like everybody else is fined. I would have even accepted, even though I wouldn't have been happy with it, them saying, well, we're giving you a 6-point suspended thingy as well. And if this happens again in the next 2 years, or you'd automatically get 6 points. And then, like we said before, if you then come up with a scale of 1 point per 5 million, whatever, something like that, then that would have been a more appropriate punishment.
Because again, if people aren't quite getting,
they can't sue. It's a story that's been out there for a while. It's nonsense.
Yeah,
it's nonsense.
Yeah,
of course. And
if they want to sue anybody, they got. Let's be blunt about it, right? If those clubs are suing because they claim that had Everton been punished sooner, they would not have got relegated. Well, actually, 3 teams go down. So actually, only the ones who were within scope. Yeah, In other words, say we'd got on the last day of the season X point deduction. Well, probably be more than 3 or 4, wouldn't it? But let's pretend it was this 10. We clearly go straight to bottom. Yeah, third bottom would survive. The other 2 would still go down. hello, what are you suing for? You know,
can't do it in 3 ways.
Even if you're allowed to, you know. But again, going back to the document, because I'm pinging around it, go look at clause 80, because you're talking about the stadium, and it's all about interest payments and things like that. And Everton's contention is fundamentally that if we weren't building the stadium, the monies we borrowed, to run the business wouldn't have been as big. Because obviously Farhad wouldn't have sent his money to the stadium, he would have sent it to the football club. And the judge accepts that argument, but he also accepts the Premier League's argument. And because there's not enough there it's all technical. No, it's technical accounting practice stuff, right? And so he's going to, what does he say? The analysis is too uncertain as to find if it had been for the stadium, blah, blah, blah. In other words, we don't know. Therefore, you can't count it. That, again, becomes part of our negative situation. That's 2 or 3 I've found just by doing you know.
That doesn't make any sense, does it? Because, again, that's the thing of, because of the way the world went in that time period, Everton suddenly went from being offered deals that maybe they would have took to suddenly deals that they couldn't afford to take.
Well, we were
talking about interest. We know because there was interest rates getting knocked around for like 4%, and at the time, no one would go near that because that seemed massively over-acceptable. Whereas now you go 4%, that doesn't sound so bad. But we've missed out on that because we had to get it started. We had to get it off the ground. We couldn't wait. Like you said before, the price of everything has gone through the roof. We couldn't wait any longer because the ground was ready to go, and we had to make a decision, and we have. Whether that was the right decision, you know, we all believe it is because there's a stadium there now, and that'll be there next year. But to say that, I'm not sure about that is madness because, again, there's just the circumstances are we've never seen circumstances like this. We've never seen a war that direct, and I'm not making light of anything here, but a war that directly hits us because one of our main sponsors was Russian. Now we can have a conversation about that all day on another day. Of course we can, and that brings its own uncertainties. But our stadium was getting a massive sponsor, name and right. The price of everything went up because of the war. Interest rates went through the roof.
COVID was going on.
COVID as well. All these things.
And bad management.
You've got, of course. Well, first thing I said, I want to get that off my chest straight away. You've got to take all these things into consideration. It just feels like they've looked at this in a normal world situation rather than going, actually, there was really weird circumstances in this. But also at a time when the Premier League were handing out bleeding money to football clubs who didn't need it. Oh yeah, Spurs have 150 million quid. Have you just built a new stadium? Don't worry about that. 150 million. Arsenal, yeah. Liverpool, why don't you furlough all your employees? Like, you know, all this stuff that went on, and yet the stuff that's in there about us, and it is all there. It is in black and white. It's not like we're just crying here. It's all there. The things are like, you can look at it and go, what are you talking about? It's mad. Absolutely mad.
It's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy, and obviously there's not a chance Evertonians are going to take this line down.
This
not
is,
a chance.
You know, some bloggers are going to have a field day with this, and it doesn't make for nice reading, but actually it doesn't make nice reading for Everton for the reasons we've said about, clearly, let's just put it down as not having the finger on the pulse, right? And we all know where we've wasted lots of money. But it doesn't make nice reading for the Premier League either. No. Because they do appear to be making it up as they go along. And there's lots of very smart people who've taken quite a bit of time to produce this 41-page document. And yet, lots of it is a bit like, you know, Mikel Arteta, was that ball in or was it out? You know? Well, the referee on the day concluded it was in. A different referee would have concluded it was out, right? Well, at least with this, Everton Football Club get another referee, because it won't be the same commission, it won't be the same KC and so on, right? And I think it does name they're just the legal guys, I think. But you know, there's a KC and a judge here, and then another qualified accounting chap who are all named on it.
Ken Sprayer FTM on the super chat says corruption, the Snake 6 fined for leaving the league.
Who said that?
Ken Sprayer on the
not wrong.
They get 4 million quid between them.
It's just pathetic, isn't it? It's I just, like I said, I'm not even saying, oh well, if they went over that thing, there shouldn't be some kind of fine or some kind of suspended sentence or even 3 points maximum, whatever.
You're talking about the biggest punishment ever handed out
for one breach that was related to a stadium. I honestly cannot get my head around it. It's unbelievable, and it's so excessive. It's so excessive that I just don't get how it's been allowed. I don't get how anyone can think it's all right. I just don't get how you can, and I don't get how the Premier League can do this to one of its stakeholders. I really don't. Damaging Everton's reputation, and Everton should potentially go after the Premier League if they can.
You know, it's interesting because this is independent, right?
It's not though, is it?
No, that's the official.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, this is independent.
Yeah.
And if I was the Premier League, I'd be really concerned about this outcome, because it leaves me with very little wriggle room about the type of tariff I'm going to have to apply to Chelsea or Manchester City or others.
And they better not give that shite if it's the same. You know, the maximum's 12 points for 115 charges.
And I've already, heard people saying, well, actually what Man City have done is different, right? Let me give you my lay version of what they've done that's different.
Go on.
Is they've hidden the truth, right? They've refused to cooperate, and they've yet to be charged. Everton did not hide the truth, fully cooperated, and have been dumped with 10 points. Now, come on, there is doing things right, and there's doing the right thing. One thing this Premier League seems to struggle with is doing the right thing. And there's no way on this planet anyone's going to get this ever again.
Not a chance.
None at all. They'll change the goddamn rules back again. Because Nottingham Forest's accountants right now could probably come up with the view, if they stay in the Premier League, of what the points deduction they're going to get down the track.
Exactly,
And it could be a horrific number. It really could. But they're all doing it on the basis of, which is perverse, really, right? It's only if an independent regulator comes in that this isn't going to happen again. They don't want an independent regulator. You're sitting on a branch that you're soaring, Notts Forest. You either get an independent regulator and you never get a points deduction, or Mr. Masters gets what he wants, which is no independent regulator, and you do.
Because they'll go after you more than they're going to go after City and Chelsea.
It's mad.
I'd love to know when this rule came in, this tariff,
It come in on, John said, it come in on August the 10th. When Everton were just about to go to the commission, you can't make an extra rule.
So the KC, or the chair of the group, very sensibly said, and he doesn't write it here, come on, you can't change the rules after the event.
And then does it?
But then comes up with a number which is totally compliant with their approach to doing it. So
Incredible.
Premier League are thinking, well, that's okay.
Mr. Life says, as a fan of Brighton, this is honestly the most deluded thing I've ever heard the Premier League have ever done. Well, it is. It's the biggest punishment ever handed out.
Record breaking,
Ken Sprayer on the super chat, thank you, mate, says, disgusting. City will be playing Runcorn with Chelsea. And psychological projection on the super chat said, surely all the judges don't know should be weighted at 50%. And what about the presumption of innocence? Yeah, mate, I mean, I honestly don't know. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I do suffer with. I just suffer with one technical breach brings that many points. I just honestly don't understand it. Carragher apparently just spoken on Sky Sports News about it. It's yours to doing. Adam on the super chat says a City getting a 1,150 points deduction with their 115 charges. Well, this is what they're doing. The Premier League have just, again, they've opened that box. They've thought that they can open a door that will very quickly just be accepted, and then we'll go away from it. But they've created, in my opinion, a huge shitstorm.
Evertonians have raised nearly £5,000 already for banners.
Yeah, there you go. bombard the Premier League's Twitter account, bombard Mathews, do it all, get this around. Absolutely disgusting. And that's where we are. Darren says, as always with the Premier League, they clearly don't know what they are doing. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Greg says, let's not forget the Scab Six tried to destroy English football and got a £22 million fine, which they voted for
whether they paid for it, yeah.
Yeah, we don't even know if they ever paid for it, by the way. So, absolutely crazy. GTE says City should have a 5-year transfer ban and be relegated to League 2. Phil Green said they've poked the wrong club. Well, let's hope so, because it's about time now we have to mobilise as fans. Make sure that anthem's booed on Sunday, a week Sunday when we face United. Get everything in clear sight. The link has been put in a few times, Reece, for the GoFundMe page. Yeah, it's there again. And I keep posting the link for More Than a Game channel. Go and subscribe to that while you're on as well. Let's get that right up while you're here, where we discuss all football as well. Warrington UK says Everton again. I remember the rule change over diving, and guess what? Nias allegedly dived. The only player that was penalised, of course.
Southall for the 6-second rule.
We've had so many.
Yeah.
We've had so many. Like I said, we're not sat here going, Everton haven't done anything wrong. Far from it. Everton, under the previous board and the owner, who's still a current owner, were ran poorly. That's the nicest way of putting it. And therefore, if they have breached, then they should be punished by something. But this is the biggest ever punishment, and it's for one technical breach of £19.5 million over 3 years. Less than 20 million. You know, you can't get players out the bleeding championship for 20 million quid, one player. So that's the breach. Go on. And therefore, that definitely to me doesn't correspond. It's a joke. But we'll see. This obviously, like we've said, it won't be 10 points because it will be reduced on appeal. But
you would hope.
I'd be amazed if
we were here 2 days ago thinking
there'd be no points.
Yeah,
I get that. Yeah. But it'd be incredible if this was upheld, this 10 points. No one in the right mind can think that this has got a chance of being upheld. Not even Richard Masters at the Premier League. Because it's the, like we keep saying, it's the biggest ever punishment.
Just to show the size of the gap.
Hang on, last one. Dance 1211 on the super chat.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, imagine the Premier League apologise after this and try to correct their excessive 10-point punishment by making the City one minuscule.
Yeah.
Go on, mate.
When you read this all kicked off in March, of course, when Everton's accounts landed with the Premier League. The Premier League expected Everton to show losses of 100 over the period, right? Of 120.8 million.
Nice.
Which is obviously over the 105 that's allowed.
Yeah.
We did it as a most favourable position, right? As 87.1. The Premier League then modified their complaint. Yep.
Okay.
To say, well, actually, we've changed it now. We're going to say the loss is 124.5. So Premier League didn't even know what should and shouldn't be included, right? But they moved from 120.8 to 124.5, and that's what we're arguing about. And that's where the 19.5 comes from.
Absolutely crazy, isn't it?
40,000 documents were produced for this case. And the hearing bundle had 28,000.
Yeah,
extraordinary.
MT 1878. You're right, Lanzini did get one after it, but Nias was the rule, wasn't it, from him? Lanzini was booked at the time, I think.
Yeah.
And then it was worsened, I'm pretty certain, to a thingy. Niash wasn't booked, was given a penalty. The referee at the time...
It was a retrospective seeking to
yeah. And the referee said he looked at it again and said, yeah, it was a penalty and I'd still give it again. And yet the panel chose to ban him for 2 games.
Because they wanted to make a point. Oh, maybe that's what they're doing now.
Michael says, Baz, they have deducted the points already. Yeah, I know they have. Yeah. I know they have, but I don't think it'll stop. I don't personally think it'll stay at 10 points. I think we'll still get one. I'm not saying it'll be wiped off, because it won't. I don't believe. I think what will happen is Everton will appeal it, and I think we'll end up with 6 points deducted. That's what I think. The 4 points that they just decided to add on will be the one that gets taken off. We'll still end up with a 6 points deduction, I believe. That's what I think will happen, and I don't agree with it, but I think that's where it'll happen.
Certainly, you would expect the chair of the appeal commission to ask the chair of the commission, how did you calculate the 10 points, lad?
Well, that's what you'd hope, wouldn't you? Yeah. Where have you got that from? Where's these 10 points come from?
Notwithstanding what's going on, the Premier League are implying that any breach of a penny costs you 6 points.
Which again is going against what the whole point of the Premier League's ruling is. That you've made up something to protect football clubs and protect fans, and then what you're actually doing then is you're looking over the shoulder of a football club for 2 years, telling them who they have to sell to keep in with your rules. And when you make them sell a player at a £20 million reduction, who's their talisman, you then do them for being less than 20 million over it. Absolute nonsense. And if that isn't in plain sight, now there used to be Machiavellian the way they do it. Now they're just going, we're just going to direct this whichever way we want.
Explore that, right? So you've got the guy at the Premier League, right, Ross, and you've got Ingles at Everton, presumably talking on a regular basis. And Grant says, well, we want to do this. And Ross says, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's okay. Cool. So we do it. And then down the line, they say, well, it's always your fault, though, if you fail. Which is where Ped was coming from earlier on, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
You know, he's saying, well, just ignore them then. Keep Richarlison.
That's what we should
break
have
the
done,
rules. And if you finish 4 or 5, whatever it is, places up the league,
anyway.
A, you might pay for the fine, but B, you add more points to the point deduction.
Yeah. They've put it, by not letting us do anything, they put us in a relegation battle for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Where Everton should have just gone, do whatever you want. We ain't selling, we're not getting rid of James. We're not getting rid of Moyes, we're not selling Richarlison. We're not getting rid of this player. We should have just gone, off you go. Do whatever you want. And then come after us and we'll still be 30 points clear of relegation. Take the 10, we don't care. And that's
points
what
deductions mean nothing to Man City.
Points, City aren't ours. Chelsea will just tie them in knots. Leicester, who they get investigated next. Villa, Forest, Wolves, who were all, Bournemouth paid whatever they wanted and didn't get anything from it. It's just nonsense. It's literally, we are going to try and demonstrate we don't need an independent regulator. That's all it is. And Richard Masters, I keep saying it, ain't going to be in a job much longer.
The real issue on this one is clearly Chelsea, right? Because
they've owned up to
Chelsea, be afraid, be very afraid, because just talked about Everton being, engaging and trying to be transparent and so on. That's what you've done. This judge is saying that's fine and dandy, and it's to your credit that you did that, but you still broke the rules, right? Still broke the rules, Chelsea. So Chelsea are in deep stuck, because what should happen is if they've got the evidence, and maybe the way they'll wriggle out of it, I don't mean Chelsea, but the regulation people, is say we haven't got evidence that we can trust, therefore we can't include it, right? But of those contracts that are in, the Cyprus papers and all this sort of stuff are seen as credible, what's going to happen is they're going to put all that money back into your business for those years and conclude that you breached P&S and probably FFP as well, probably, right? The UEFA version. And then you got retrospective punishments.
Well, don't forget.
Being applied to current owners.
There's now some nonsense story that's doing the rounds that Mathew just come out with, that Burnley are trying to sue Everton and Leeds. Yeah. So I can't wait when we go after City. City cost us the Champions League in 2004-05. Beat them and we were in it. Chelsea beat us in an FA Cup final. They've admitted they were cheating at the time, so we've got the FA Cup to take back. Chelsea beat us in a semi-final of the League Cup, so we'll have 10 million from that.
They were cheating for that.
So we're going to be quids in with what the Premier League have done here when all this comes out. So Everton better be ready to sue City and everyone else who was cheated along the way then. If this is and people shouldn't be peddling this story about Burnley, Leicester and Leeds, by the way. No credible outlet should be even discussing this because it's come from Mathew.
Premier League. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
but you can't sue. It's a story that isn't real anyway.
No, sorry, Premier League.
Sue a Premier League club. You sue the Premier League.
Yeah, Premier League.
Not even real.
Sue the Premier League.
And it takes 10 seconds of investigative journalism to go, could that happen? And you go, oh no, it can't. And you don't write a story. No one should be parroting it anyway. It's nonsense.
Here's a thought for you, and this is from Gavin Buckland, who's a top stato, right? And so he's got his little pencil out and he's had a look, and he says, based on their latest set of accounts, losses before any allowable deductions over the 3-year period.
Oh yeah.
Chelsea, £264 million.
Hello, Van Rama.
Manchester United, £200 million.
Hello, National League.
The allowance is 105. Do the sums, guys.
Yeah, so they're knackered.
So 160 million at a point for every 5 million.
Go on, John. Quicker than me at doing
I
that.
can't do that in my head, but I can do that. I have 160
about
by 5.
30 odd points. So they're down, aren't they? United. So who was it? United?
32.
So United are relegated. Who else?
No, that's Chelsea.
Oh, Chelsea. So Chelsea.
United would be... Where are we?
They're not going to be far behind.
A mere 19 points.
United 19 might just stay up. 10 Hag, don't know.
30-point deduction for Chelsea. If that's what they're really... Oh, sorry. That's just the deduction bit for the fact that you've got all these 5 millions, but you start with 6, don't you?
Start with 6 at least.
So United
38. Chelsea are relegated.
United
minus 25. Can they post 65 points, United? I'm not sure.
Really?
I'm not sure.
Are you going to do that, Masters?
Alan McMillan says, this is great chat, lads. Yeah. Keep it up. Cheers, Alan. Yeah. We are waiting to go on Sky Sports very soon, so we are going to stop in a bit. I don't know, we might come back on, who knows? You never know. Yeah. You never know, but it is incredible. Jill on the Super Chat says, come on, you Blues. Nice one, Jill. This is going to run and run. Like I said, Sky Sports are showing Everton Man United, biggest club in the world, against Everton, all eyes. You know what to do, Blues. Every banner, everything. Premier League anthem, you know what's happening. It's already been spoken about. Money's being raised. The Premier League have probably messed with the wrong football club, to be fair.
Man United fans, join us.
Yeah. Well, Mathew, they might want to. Although it's probably in their interest.
It is.
Because
United fans, join us.
If it comes out with losses, then it's mad. Absolutely mad. Right, we better go. We better go and do this next thing.
Sky
Have
calling.
You done all the super chats?
Yeah, there's the one there. I've done Jill. I've done Alan. I've done Aram. Yeah, I think I've done them all and gone. Dance. Yeah. Psychological. Yeah. Ken Sprayer. Done Donny. I've done Aram again. Yeah, loads of them. Thank you very much for all of the super chats. The banner, the raising of the money for the banners is up to 5,718 now. Incredible.
Can we put the link in the description, or have we done that already?
Listen, do me a favour, go and subscribe to that, what I've just put in, More Than a Game. And who knows, we might come back on for half an hour. Who knows?
And go on Jamie Carragher's tweet, which has now got 1.9 million views. Let's see, get as many football fans everywhere seeing what a travesty this is. Really. It really is.
Absolutely.
Kick the can down the road and you never get punished seems to be the mantra.
That's it. Don't admit to anything.
Don't admit to anything. Don't work with the Premier League. Don't do anything that's doing the right thing because they'll crap on you.
Let's leave it there. There you go. See you in a bit. Bye.